Here at Pro Football Weekly, we're taking a look at the hot seat meter. Senior editor Eric Edholm ranked all 32 NFL head coaches to see where they sit on the hot seat. And coming up at number 27, so his seat is pretty warm, is Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett heading into his second full season. Obviously, a lot of injury problems with that Cowboys team last year, very inconsistent. But when you're in Dallas playing for Jerry Jones, obviously the spotlight's on you. Where's Jason Garrett? How hot is his seat right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've got him listed essentially the 6th hottest seat in the NFL, and I think it's probably too soon to see him get fired, but we've seen Jerry obviously get rid of coaches after 2 seasons before Jason now heading into his 3rd season. He took over after Wade Phillips started in that bad start a couple years ago in 2010. But Wade lasted 56 games, and Jerry has been preaching patience and has been talking more about wanting to stay the course and not have to switch coaching philosophies every couple years. So the general thinking in Dallas around the team is that Jason's probably got another year, unless things just absolutely fall apart. That said, it's been a little shaky since Garrett has taken over, especially last year. 8-8 looks like a pretty steady season. Not when they were 7-4 and challenging for that division race, lost their final 4 of their final 5, including the Week 17 game in New York. So it really does leave his future in doubt after a 13-11 coaching start.
Yeah, I think it seems like Jerry Jones wants Jason Garrett to succeed.
Sure.
He's a guy that's been with that organization for a long time, and when he was the offensive coordinator, he was very successful. And he's got a quarterback in there in Tony Romo that obviously has a lot of pressure on him. And when you got an offensive mind, Jason Garrett, and a guy in Romo who every year is considered the guy that doesn't win the big game, those two are going hand in hand in a tough division. So it's not necessarily easy for Jason Garrett and these Cowboys to reach the playoffs to keep his seat kind of cooler.
Yeah, tough division. You've got Romo towards the end of his prime, 32 years old, still played very well last year. They went out and made the big splash in free agency with Brandon Carr, the aggressive move up in the draft for Morris Claiborne. Everybody seems to think, okay, another year with Rob Ryan as coordinator. They didn't even learn that defense last year. They basically just stuck them in spots, a lot of communication issues, 10 guys on the field, 12 guys on the field. But ultimately, that comes down to coaching, and Jason has to clean those things up. Had some questionable stuff last year with timeouts at the end of that loss at Arizona, a couple other game management things that people really questioned and harped on. So he's got to clean up some of those areas. He's going into his 3rd season now. He's been on the sideline and been in charge for a while. So those are the kind of things he has to avoid. Winning games doesn't hurt either.
Sometimes as fans, you can see the wins, losses, you can see how a team is doing, and that's really your only gauge. But if you're a head coach and you're making poor timeout decisions or going for it on 4th down, fans are going to notice that. So you're right, that's something that he's obviously got to cut down on. But when you look at Jason Garrett and what he's going up against, with the Fed, there are higher expectations in Dallas with what they've done in the offseason to improve that defense with what they got going there with Rob Ryan. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, if it's a hair short like they were last year, could Jerry Jones be moving on? Is he going to have to kind of throw away that patience thing?
I had to at least address that, and I said, some believe that Garrett has to make the playoffs to keep his job. I personally think he could do kind of similar to what they did last year, be in contention till the final game of the season, basically. Just lose out in the end, and he still could keep his job. If they were 8-8, he'd still be 2 games over 500 in his career. So I know the expectations are always raised in Dallas, especially this year after some spending and kind of thinking about all the talent that they still have. But to me, I think Garrett can still miss the playoffs as long as they're in contention pretty deep.
People tend to forget after the Giants Super Bowl run, they still had to beat the Cowboys in the final week of the season to even get to the playoffs. To see all of Eric's rankings and see where your team's coach sits on the hot seat, check it out this story at ProFootballWeekly.com.